Jack is a great guy. He's written a fantastic book. Everybody's talking about it. Go get it. And he's been my friend right from the beginning of this whole beautiful event. And we're going to turn it around and make our country great again. Amen.
All right, folks, Jack Posobiec, we are back, Human Events Daily. We're talking about the incredible infiltration operation that Turning Point USA Frontlines team ran. And guys, Jonathan, let me ask you, if people want to continue to support your operations, I'd be remiss if I didn't put this out. How can they go and support Frontlines?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. First of all, you can follow me at Choe Show, ChoeShow, and of course, our Frontlines team at Frontlines TPUSA. And we always want to partner up with people who may want to fund one of these trips because we need the support. And if you can, just click the subscribe button and follow us and just send these stories out to the rest of your friends. America really needs to see what's happening here right now in independent media. Guys like us, we're the only ones showing it right now, and this is really happening in American cities.
That's incredible.
And as you and Kevin were discussing earlier, it really now has come down to a fight between good and evil. In fact, it's always been like that, but I'm seeing it now more than ever. This really is spiritual warfare.
No, it is. 6'7" Kevin, on the question of the technological side, when you go to conduct one of these operations, what sort of tech, what sort of, filming equipment were you guys using?
Yeah, I mean, we have to be pretty covert here because obviously they put up about hundreds of posters that say no filming, no recording, and they will kick you out immediately. And they have all of these guards standing around and they're just watching you like a hawk. I had people looking at me like, he looks a little too straight, but they just couldn't, be for sure that I was doing something. But we had spy sunglasses. So if you see the 6'7" perspective looking down, that's my angle. And then Jonathan also had his own sunglasses. And then both of us were mic'd up with audio as well. So when we couldn't record with the sunglasses, we were getting the audio. So it was an amalgamation of a lot, even some iPhone footage as well. But then by the end, we did get outed, and a leftist basically was putting tape over my sunglasses and told me to leave. So didn't work that great.
Well, again, it's that incredible use of technology, the incredible use. Now, Jonathan, you don't have those spy glasses on right now. That's not what those are they?
No, these are just my regular Gucci sunglasses, but we had the
sure.
meta glasses.
Okay, that's what he says that now. He says that now, but in all seriousness, you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to get into. This sort of, Kevin was telling us about the interplay there, and I remember this when I was in the Chaz. It really does operate like a sort of mini community when you're inside these things, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's what was so fascinating for me when I went there. And again, everyone assumed that initially we were leftists, right? That we were for this cause. They called us comrades and so on and so forth. Everyone was so generous and giving us free pamphlets, free posters, giving us discounts. A lot of the material was, if there was a charge, there would be a sliding scale. They would say, whatever you can afford, but just take it and give it to someone else. I also saw homeless teenagers. One fella said he was kicked out from his house because he came out to his parents as LGBTQ, and that's unfortunate. But overall, this, again, feel of family, community, is what these disenfranchised young people are looking for. And unfortunately, they're finding it here. But what I really believe, I know that, when it comes to even our coverage sometimes, I'll say it again, the ideology is dangerous. It's violent. It's evil. But these people can all be redeemed. But unfortunately, right now, they're all lost.
And that's what's so sad. Kevin, you mentioned that praying for these people. And I think that's a big part of it, but also from a governmental perspective, at the same time, the federal government, you guys broke the story that the crackdown has begun on the financial and network investigation of these guys. Kevin, from that perspective, what we've learned, do you think, as committed as they are, that they'll stop unless the government does something?
not going to stop. And even if there is a huge amount of government action, which it might require overreach, which I don't agree with either, because so much of this operation is decentralized. We went to their anti-ICE workshop and they told us part of why they were so successful is that it is decentralized, that there isn't just one nonprofit that you can defund and it just collapses Antifa. I was actually at a brewery and I was talking to this gentleman that ended up being a Chase executive president there. And he admitted to me that he was actually a communist and that he had funded some of these Antifa groups. And he told me he had given them $10,000 in cash at a protest at one point and just dropped it off. He'll just bring them coffee, he'll bring them food. So it's so decentralized. Some of this is cash, some of this you can't track. So this is going to be terribly difficult to actually tramp out.
And I think that's exactly right, because it's something that we learned with these committed communists over time, that they do have this sort of romantic belief. And Jonathan, would you describe it as sort of a romantic utopian belief system that they seem to have thrown themselves into?
It really is. This is their subculture. This is their ideal worldview, right? But again, I believe they've been brainwashed. This is because a lot of these young men and women, they don't have purpose in life. They've been kicked out of their homes. They don't fit in. One of the analysts that I talked to in the Oakland area, outside of the story, he basically said these were the kids who felt like they were outcasts and losers in high school. They weren't even necessarily the smart kids, but they were the ones just in the corner cafeteria. But then now they've all grown up and they found each other. So they formed not only this family, but a gang. And a gang now with purpose to go out and cause chaos, ultimately to usher in this violent revolution to bring this, what they believe is a utopia. And right now, America doesn't fit that vision.
Well, and it goes all the way back to the French Revolution. The French Revolution had that commune system, and that's exactly what you're describing. These are modern communes, and when the modern iteration of Antifa got started in West Berlin in the 1960s, that's exactly how they started. They were in buildings that had been abandoned in World War II, and they sort of set up shop as squatters, and that's really where the Ottomen, as they called themselves back then, came from, and that, of course, is back from the prior iteration of Antifa during the interwar period when they were used to destabilize the Weimar Republic. But you go back to these French Revolution references, and of course that goes all the way up to the mainstreaming of the French Revolution and Antifa phrase, no kings. That goes all the way back to the French Revolution. No kings, no masters is a phrase that was used, has been used for hundreds of years. That's certainly been used by Antifa since they've come back around, and it was used by the Jacobins. No kings, no lords was the original phrasing, and now it's been completely mainstreamed in cities across the country. Final question, I suppose. Let's start with Kevin. Kevin, given what you've seen, would it surprise you to think that the organizers of the No Kings and organizers of these Antifa cells have some overlap?
There definitely could be overlap, but it also could be just organic, and it could be just springing up naturally in their own areas. What is interesting, and I'll quote Star Wars on this. This is from Star Wars Andor, but this character says, when the Empire cracks down its overreach stronger, it only makes the rebellion stronger. So as all of these talks about cracking down on Antifa and National Guard increase, it's almost bolstering the morale of these individuals and making more of these people pop up and want to rebel. So, they're only getting stronger, it seems.
Yeah, well, this is the situation, and it won't stop until it's stopped. Jonathan Choe Show, 67 Kevin, do you have social media you want to put out?
Sure, yeah, 67Kevin1 on Twitter, and then 67Kevin on YouTube, where I do documentaries.
Right, make sure you're there. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your work. Be safe, but don't quit.
Jack, thanks for amplifying.
Thank you, Jonathan. Amen. We'll get it out there. And I said to everybody, I said, we're going to spread this one like the plague. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.